Coming up, water woes continue for some a week and a half after the flood.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Many Kentucky communities are still dealing with the aftermath of the recent flooding, including the city of Hazard. Right now, utility crews there are working to restore areas across the county with clean water. Maggie Rickerby talked with the city manager about what they've seen beneath the floodwaters.
The dollar cost on this flood has already superseded the one 2 years ago.
Hazard City Manager Tony Eversole tells us Perry County and other affected areas are just now getting over the 2022 flood. After being hit with another, Hazard is facing a boil water advisory.
It's an inconvenience for the restaurants and the clinics, but it's something, we always want to put out the best quality, safe water that we can.
Eversole tells us around 1,500 were left without water right after the flood, but most of them have since been restored. Picking up the pieces after this flood has been a group effort. Tyler York is helping to replant trees along the river.
They got washed away down by the flood. We lost a few, but we were able to put some of them back up.
And he's been working around the city too,
cleaning up all the flood debris and garbage and trash from the roads and side roads, and just trying to make it look good again for the people. It's hard to see the community like this. Nobody wants to see it, but we'll get back together. We'll recuperate. We always do.
In Hazard, Maggie Rickerby, WKYT.
Pike County officials participated in a news conference today, providing the community with an update on flood recovery efforts there. Judge Executive Ray Jones was joined by officials from FEMA, Kentucky Emergency Management, and area first responders, celebrating the work that helped keep hundreds of Kentuckians safe and recognizing the resources that are now available in the region to help them recover. FEMA officials say they are now on the ground working to assess and provide for folks in need. Jones says it is the small businesses in the area that will really need a lot of focus and resources that are currently not available.
Benefits that Congress has had on the books for so long are inadequate, in my opinion, to address the magnitude of the damage. And I know that finances are strained. I know that we have a debt problem, but we absolutely need to look at what the SBA can do for small businesses.
If you were impacted by the flooding, there are 3 ways to apply for disaster aid. You can do that online now at disasterassistance.gov, on the FEMA app, or by calling 800-621-3362. Knott County Judge Executive Jeff Dobson says folks should apply as soon as possible for FEMA aid and keep track of their FEMA identification number. FEMA is accepting applications at the Knott County Public Library in Hindman Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. with weekend hours expected soon.
We have 3 representatives here that's taking applications for individuals to claim their private assistance. We also, there's a lady from KYEM who is doing a survey as well to assist you with your application process.
Other impacted counties can expect FEMA to set up in the coming weeks. The death toll from severe weather in Kentucky since Valentine's Day went up again today. It now stands at 23. The newest flood-related death was reported in Graves County. Officials also announced today that Floyd County was added to the list of counties approved for public and individual assistance, bringing the total to 11. The other counties are Breathitt, Clay, Harlan, Knott, Lee, Letcher, Martin, Owsley, Perry, and Pike. Tonight, forest fire planning at an Elkhorn City nursing home made the difference when floodwaters came up. In December, Elkhorn Health and Rehabilitation had discussions about planning for possible fires on the hillside behind the building and how they should evacuate if that happened. A month and a half later, they had to put that plan to the test, only this time it was when floodwaters crossed the road in front of the building.
I think that's what helped us as working as a community, that it helped keep the residents as calm as can be and also our staff.
Crews took half the people to Pikeville Medical Center, the other half to a community center in Elkhorn City. It took about 12 hours to move 100 people. We are told more than 80 businesses and 300 homes were impacted in some way by the Valentine's Day weekend flood in Perry County alone. Hot Mess Express and Talon's on Main were not spared by the flood. Owner of the store, Stephanie Callahan, says she lost everything in her men's store as well as some of her women's clothing, but the community is rallying around her.
I got clothes all over Hazard being washed that we're gonna try to maybe yard sale and try to recoup some of the money, and then what's not sold, we're gonna donate it.
Callahan has been packing up for the past week, and as she looks for ways to move forward, and she says she hopes to resume sales on Friday.
We had wall-to-wall sunshine across eastern Kentucky. Highs today were in the 60s and 70s. Numbers for today played out like this: 70 in Jacksboro, 70 in Harlan, 68 in Hazard, 67 in Jackson, as well as Prestonsburg. Ashland check-in was 67. Moorhead made it to 66 degrees. Right now, Moorhead is sitting at 50, 53 in Jackson, 48 in Hazard, 48 in Harlan. Jonesville, good evening to you. You're at 39, 37 in Whitesburg. Now, live pinpoint Doppler radar is quiet now. This time tomorrow night, though, we will have rain pushing through eastern Kentucky, but for tonight, not bad at all. Look at the 1 o'clock temperature, 48 degrees, go to 38 by 7 a.m. Now, again, rain chances are in the forecast for tomorrow. We'll time everything out with Future View in the First Alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thank you. We have new information in a trooper-involved shooting we first told you about last night at 11. Kentucky State Police say troopers were helping to serve an arrest warrant for 44-year-old Stephen Carter. Troopers say Carter was found behind a home on Hobbs Hollow Road with a gun. Troopers then ordered him to drop the gun. During an encounter, State Police say a trooper shot Carter, killing him. KSB's Critical Incident Response Team is investigating. A man and woman are facing charges following the death of a teenager in McCreary County. Deputies responded to a home in the 7,000 block of West Highway 92 about a 14-year-old being unresponsive. The teen was taken to a Wayne County hospital but died. According to an arrest citation, it says investigators saw major injuries on the child. Billy Bolin and Jeremy Reidner were taken to the Knox County Detention Center. Police in Laurel County want to warn you about a scam going around. It's one you've probably heard of before. They say the caller is identifying themselves as a deputy with the Laurel County Sheriff's Office. Officials say the caller is advising folks to pay bond money regarding a legal issue and is telling people money will take care of the problem. Police say you should never give out personal information or send money. Educators and state leaders gathered this morning at the Capitol to celebrate National Public Schools Week. It's a celebration of schools as the cornerstone of local communities. Mariah Congito was there as Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman presented a proclamation recognizing this week in the Commonwealth.
Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman says often we think about schools as the places where kids go to be educated, but what we don't often think about until disaster strikes like we saw more than a week ago in eastern Kentucky is those very places turn into shelters and supply centers for people in need.
Kentucky's public schools truly represent the heart and the soul of our communities.
The Kentucky Association of School Administrators, Superintendents, Teachers, and Legislators say it's important to recognize public schools and the dedicated people behind their success.
They often are the unsung heroes of our communities.
As a former educator, Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman says it's imperative that work continues in Frankfort to fight for things like teacher raises, resources for the classrooms, and universal pre-K.
Our educators, every school employee, is deserving of the same type of respect in their profession as well.
Scott Lewis, chair of the House Standing Committee on Primary and Secondary Education, noted their work is helping Kentucky students get the best education possible.
We have made important advancements in reading in recent sessions, and you will see us continue to focus on early literacy. Our latest NAEP scores showed fourth grade reading scores at 12th in the country.
Many took the time to thank the educators and students who've helped their neighbors impacted by this month's deadly flood. Letcher County Superintendent Cheryl Yance says the flood of 2022 and 2025 have fostered resilience among their district.
Our students are the backbone of those hearts. They have worked endlessly to unload and load supplies, to muck out homes and debris, to deliver meals, to lift each other up.
Folks here say they hope that people will take the time during National Public Schools Week to thank an educator or a staff member at one of their local schools. In Frankfort, Mariah Conjito, WKYT.
Attempts to funnel state funding away from public schools was a big topic in Kentucky's latest election cycle. Amendment 2 would have allowed some taxpayer dollars to potentially go to private schools. The noes on that amendment won by more than 500,000 votes. But just last month, President Trump signed an executive order for what he calls school choice. It called for the Department of Education to issue guidance on using federal funding to support scholarships for grade school students. It also ordered the Department of Health and Human Services to issue guidance on states using HHS funds for private or faith-based schools. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, President Trump floats a new path to citizenship. More on that proposal and his latest executive orders.
And rain chances are in the forecast tomorrow. We'll plot everything out in a few minutes.